Hello everyone, this is Jeff, the Hawaiian Mechanic. Hey gang, welcome back to the channel. So the last few days we've had some extremely hot weather. The temps have been exceeding 115 degrees the last few days. And actually today, yesterday, and the day before, we had temperatures in excess of 119 degrees. So on my way home yesterday, my AC just quit working. And I had like another 50 miles to go during rush hour. So I was literally in my truck, 119 degrees in traffic for about an hour. And it was a pretty miserable ride home. So here we are today, next day, and today's project is going to be replacing the AC compressor and the AC expansion valve. All right, well, things you're going to need for the install, obviously, is going to be the AC compressor. This is Murray brand from O'Reilly. This is brand new, and it comes with these O-rings. Expansion valve. This needs to be replaced as well. Now O'Reilly is saying that you can get a lifetime warranty if you replace the expansion valve along with the compressor. So if anything goes wrong during the lifetime of the compressor here, you get a brand new one. As long as you replace the expansion valve. You're going to need some PAG 46, some PAG oil, some refrigerant, a vacuum pump, and manifold gauges. Now the installation of the AC compressor is not that difficult, but it is labor intensive in the sense where there's a few things you're going to need to move out of the way. So let's get underneath the truck and then kind of go over some of the steps and some of the obstacles you'll be going through. Okay, so fortunately for me, I have a lifted truck with a body lift on it, so I'm literally sitting cross-legged underneath my truck right now. So easy accessibility, I can get underneath here with no problem. So in order for us to take out the compressor, we're going to need to loosen two bolts, or two nuts rather. So this one up here, if I can get that focused, right up here is a half-inch nut, and there is another one right in the back up here, which I can't really get to. There's also two electrical connectors. There's one in the back of the compressor, so all the way back there. See it? All the way back there somewhere. There it is. And another one, if I can squeeze through here, at the very top. I do apologize for the poor video, but there's two electrical connectors that need to come off. Now, in order for you to take out the compressor, we're going to need to remove the serpentine belt. Just get it out of the way so that this wheel here can spin freely. We need to do that to remove the AC compressor belt here. So now there is a tool to remove the belt, but I don't have that tool. And if you're just like me, you're probably surfing everywhere on the net looking for videos on how to remove it, remove the AC belt. And I'm going to try this one that I saw using like a microfiber cloth or a towel or something. So we'll see how that goes. So once the serpentine belt is removed, this wheel here can spin freely. We remove the belt, and then we should be able to just wiggle out the compressor and then kind of go through the reverse procedure or process to get the new one in. So now for the expansion valve, it's quite easy to replace. There is a nut that's right there, and that's also a half-inch socket. You just loosen that, and you should be able to pull out the high side and low side hoses. Now there are O-rings that are attached to it. You pull out the block, and then there's another set of O-rings that are also attached here on the rear side that needs to be replaced. So that's fairly simple. And I also failed to mention too that on the compressor down here, I don't know if you can see it. I think I can. There's also some hoses right down there, the high side and low side hoses that connect from the expansion valve that go directly into the compressor. That also needs to be removed from the compressor. So before we get started, just want to point out a few things. Safety obviously is paramount. If you have residual freon in your system, and when you plug in your manifold gauges and it's still showing that it's pressurized, take it to a shop and get it evacuated. Don't release the freon into the atmosphere. It is absolutely against the law. But most times when your AC is blowing hot and has been for quite some time, you probably have no pressure in it. If it registers 0, then you can go ahead and start the evacuation process using your vacuum pump. So first step, evacuate the system. No pressure in there. Second step, we're going to loosen or remove the serpentine belt, get that out of the way. Then we take off the belt, the compressor belt. Then we start the process of removing the hot side and cold side hoses that connect to the compressor, removing that, getting that out of the way. Loosening and removing the bolts or nuts that hold in the compressor. And we should be able to wiggle out the compressor at that point. As far as the expansion valve, that's super easy. We got that 1/2-inch socket, that nut that needs to be removed. You essentially just pull out the hoses from there. And there are two, I think the Torx T25 screws or bolts that need to be backed out for you to pull out the entire expansion valve. And then what's important is making sure that you replace those O-rings. Quick note, when you replace the O-rings, go ahead and put a little bit of PEG oil on there to create a seal. Most people forget that they need to put some oil to lubricate that so that it creates a good seal. So make sure that you put some PEG oil on the O-rings before reassembling, the parts. So I think I got it basically outlined for you. I'll have a list of the items listed in the comment section, the compressor and all the tools and all the other stuff that I use for this project. With that said, let's start mechanicking. Okay, so I got the old AC compressor out. And just doing some visual inspection, you can see that it's looking pretty toast. And that's where my leak was coming from. You can tell that's just pag oil and refrigerant slowly leaking out of here. Another indication that my old compressor was bad. Just take a look at the new one here. When you spin clutch, or clutch side, the front is free spinning. And this stays static. Does not move. As you can see, right? The old one, hello. So we got something going on there, and then just for shits and giggles, I kind of rattle this, shake this old compressor. You could hear some parts in there clinking around in there, and I just for the hell of it, I shook this one, and there was nothing. Everything is all in place there. So there's definitely something wrong internally with the old compressor. So just a quick note, just making sure that we put some pag oil on the O-rings here. Really important to create a seal. Now torque specs, according to the service manual, is 16 foot-pounds on the mounting bolts. 16 foot-pounds. Doesn't take that much there. You don't want to over-tighten it. So 16 foot-pounds is what's recommended on the mounting bolts. This here, it says to just to snug it up. Make sure it's snugged up. And then you go ahead and take one turn and make sure it's securely on there, secured. But you don't want to over tighten either. You want to be able to have a good seal, have the O-rings just kind of compress on there. But you don't want to like compress it too tight or tighten it to the point where the O-ring material is just squished in there. So if you have heat, expands and contracts, and you're more than likely going to have a leak in the future. So, okay, so there's a lot of confusion about new compressors, new AC compressors. If they come pre-filled with oil already in them. In some cases, yes, and most cases, no. Now, this particular brand, this Murray AC compressor, does come filled with about 3 to 4 ounces of what they're calling pre-assembly lube or service lube, and it's filled through here, this orifice right here. After just kind of scouring the internet for instructions, if I need to add more to this compressor or not, the jury is still out. But what I'm finding is they're saying that you definitely do not want to drain the oil out of this orifice here. Whatever comes with it, you don't want to touch that. But you do want to add the recommended amounts to your compressor, or whatever your capacity is for your vehicle. So, and there's still confusion on that too. Some are saying 1.4 ounces, while others say 3 ounces. Now, after reading, doing some reading and some research, it looks like 3 is the magic number. So what I did was added 3 ounces of PAG 46 into the low side, not the high side, but the low side. They're suggesting low side anyway. So if you guys are wondering, well, how am I going to get that in? There's like an obstruction there. So if you look at the old one, I don't know if you can see it, but back here there's there is a little door right there. And how I filled the fluid into the compressor is by using this one-way brake bleeder. I took out the internal hose and filled it up with 3 ounces. And a shot glass is roughly about 3 ounces. So I poured 3 ounces into the bottle, turned it upside down, squeezed, and it all went in there just fine. I kind of stuck the hose in to kind of open that little door back there, and the oil went in. So if you're trying to fill in some pag oil in there and it's like kind of overflowing, you just need to kind of push that hose down just a little bit to push that door open, or that flap, and then the oil will go into the compressor. Okay, so fast forward for just a bit here. I got the compressor installed, and then these mounting bolts, you got this one here and one up top. Those are to be torqued at 16 foot-pounds, and I also got the belt on as well. And the hot side, cold side hoses, those are also installed as well. It's back here, right here. See my finger right there. Now there's no torque specs for that, so what you need to do is snug it down pretty tight. But you don't want to over tighten it, because if you do, you run the risk of stripping the bolt or crushing the O-ring to the point where it can't expand and contract and hold a good seal. And like I mentioned earlier, you need to make sure that you add some you coat it with some PEG oil to create that seal. All right, now that I'm done with installing the compressor, we're going to move on to the easy part of the installation, the second part of it, which is the expansion valve. That's going to be really simple. I outlined it earlier, but it's essentially just that half-inch socket. You loosen that up, you loosen the hoses, and then there's two bolts that run through, or screws that need to be backed out for you to pull out the entire expansion valve. And you need to switch out the O-rings. There are actually 4 O-rings that need to be replaced, and slap it back together. And then again, there's no torque spec for this, so you just kind of tighten it pretty tight, but not too tight, if that makes sense. So after that, then it's just a process of evacuating the system and adding some Freon. So let's keep mechanicking. All right, well, that was quick and easy enough. So there are 4 O-rings. There's 2 on the outside here, and then 2 on the back side of the expansion valve. And they are sized specifically to fit only one direction. So really easy to install. And as far as torquing it down, again, it's just snug it down, give it a couple of turns. You don't want to over torque it or anything, because you've got to be able to give the O-ring an opportunity to seal. And again, please make sure that you coat the O-rings with some PEG oil there to create a solid seal. All right, gang, well, that's it. That's how you install, replace your AC compressor and your expansion valve. Now, all that's left to do now is just to evacuate the system with my vacuum pump and my manifold gauges there, and then after about 45 minutes to an hour of vacuuming out all the air, then I'll go through the process of adding Freon and making sure that the levels are right where they need to be, start her up, take her for a spin, and should be good to go. So I'll leave a link at the end of this video on my AC recharge video that I did a while back, and that shows you how to go about evacuating your AC system and how to add Freon and stop leaking, all that fun stuff. So I appreciate you guys checking out the channel. Hopefully you guys get a little bit out of the content. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. And I got a couple of things coming around the corner. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next one. This is your Hawaiian Volcanic. Aloha.